Hello, everyone. I am Nicole, a pre-sales consultant here at Bytes, and hopefully here to give you more of an understanding of zero trust and how that applies to identity and access management. Let's get started. So organizations we talk to face many challenges related to identity and access in their environments. Explosions of apps, devices, and users across and outside of the corporate network as the organization's barriers blur between who is in your network and who is out of it. Organizations are struggling to manage identities for not only their employees, but external partners, suppliers, and distributors, and even end consumers and customers. Consequences of this global pandemic is a shift to hybrid work, putting more pressure on IT to enable flexible and productive experiences for their dispersed workforces while still securing their access. And also identity attacks continue to increase. There was a 300% increase in identity-related attacks just last year alone. Evolving regulations that you must comply with to protect your privacy and your customers' privacy and security, like GDPR, and also the demands for increased productivity and IT modernization enabled by identity, like digital transformation projects. I mean, which of these are priorities for yourselves? Are there competing priorities? Oftentimes, the hardest part is balancing multiple, often competing priorities of reducing the cost of them and increasing efficiency, security, and the user experience. In this world where your identity system in the cloud is your control plane that can connect everything, give you visibility to your entire digital estate, and ensure that only the right people have the right access to the right resources and keep the bad players out. Microsoft's Azure Active Directory is one of those universal identity platforms that help you manage and secure all of your users across all of your environments and across all of the access to your applications. Security solutions aligned to zero trust are based upon a key set of principles. Move from assumption to explicit verification. They adopt a policy-based, least privileged access model, and they're designed with the assumption that every element of your system can be breached. These are the key principles of zero trust. So zero trust provides a modern security framework to manage the complexity of today's organizations. A holistic approach to zero trust should extend throughout the entire digital estate. It serves as an integrated security philosophy and an end-to-end strategy. And you can do this by implementing zero trust controls and technologies across 6 foundational elements. Identities, so whether they represent people, services, or IoT devices, define the zero trust control plane. When an identity attempts to access a resource, we need to verify that identity with strong authentication and ensure access is compliant and typical for that identity. We also need to make sure it follows least privilege access principles. Devices, once an identity has been granted access to a resource, to data, that data can flow to a variety of different devices, from IoT devices to smartphones, BYOD, or partner devices. And this also includes on-premise workloads and cloud servers. This diversity creates a massive attack surface area, requiring that we monitor and enforce device health and compliance for secure access. Data, ultimately, security teams are focused on protecting data. Where possible, data should remain safe, even if it leaves the devices, apps, infrastructure, and networks that the organization controls. Data should be classified, labeled, and encrypted, and access restricted based on those attributes. For applications and APIs that provide the interface to which this data is consumed, There may be legacy on-premise lift and shift to cloud workflows or modern SaaS applications. Controls and technologies should be applied to discover shadow IT and ensure appropriate in-app permissions, gate access based on real-time analytics, monitor for abnormal behavior, controlling user actions, and validating secure configuration options. Infrastructure, whether on-premise servers or cloud-based VMs, containers, or microservices, represents a critical threat vector. Assess for version, configuration, just-in-time access to hardened events, use telemetry to detect attacks and anomalies, and automatically block and flag risky behavior to take those protective actions. And finally, networks. All data is ultimately accessed over network infrastructure. Networking controls can provide critical in-pipe controls to enhance visibility and help prevent attackers from moving laterally across the network. Networks should be segmented, including deeper in-network micro-segmentation and real-time threat protection, end-to-end encryption, monitoring, and analytics should be deployed. Then use these key tools to tie it all together. So policy-driven access. Modern microsegmentation means more than just networks. It requires we also gate access based on the role of that person, their location, their behavior patterns, the data sensitivity itself, the application, and the device security. It is important to ensure all policy is automatically enforced at the time of access and continuously throughout the session where possible. For visibility, analytics, and automation, telemetry from the systems above must be processed and acted on automatically. Attacks happen at cloud speed, and your defenses must act at cloud speed as well. And humans just can't react quickly enough. Integrating intelligence with policy-based response for real-time automated threat protection is the way forward. Because we believe organizations need to embrace zero trust, we recommend solutions like MS that have integrated their zero trust controls into their solutions so that you can implement your security model and scale across the entire digital estate. So connect all of your users and apps so that you can extend to the benefits of single sign-on to your users while improving your security posture. Second, verify your identities with strong authentication. Identity is the front door, so strong authentication is the single most important change we can take. Controlling access with smart and risk assessments to move past rigid static rules that hinder productivity and that can't leverage all of the great signals your environment generates. And lastly, enforce least privileged access with strong governance to ensure users only get access to what they need, lowering the risk of bad actors, from abusing those credentials. Let's look at some of the technologies that can help you implement these. The critical step towards starting a zero trust journey is consolidating secure access to all the applications, whether they are on-prem or in the cloud. To get started, Azure AD can be easily synchronized with on-prem AD, connected to cloud HR systems, and enabled for external users. With that, you can enable single sign-on to all of your apps, including SaaS apps, custom-built cloud apps, and on-prem apps. For your on-prem apps, you can choose between Azure AD application proxy or one of the secure hybrid access integrations from vendors like Okta or Citrix, for example. F5 and Zscaler as well, if I remember correctly. These solutions help customers access legacy auth-based applications that use protocols like header-based and Kerberos authentication. We continue to make the rollout of integrated solutions easier. And from the Microsoft perspective, where F5 is concerned, there's an easy button in the Azure portal to simplify that app configuration. So What it is in terms of conditional access. It's critical that only the right people with the right resources on secure devices can access your data from anywhere. MS's conditional access is an intelligent policy engine built for this challenge. Its robust controls allow you to define specific conditions for how users authenticate and gain apps to your data. You can customize and manage automated policies and get reporting on the policies applied for each sign-in. Conditional access also gives you the power to enforce the core principle of zero trust. Never trust, always verify. The zero trust security model relies on a security policy engine to make access decisions you can enforce throughout your environment. Conditional access also enables organizations to fine-tune access policies based on contextual user, device, location, and session risk information. That gives you better control on how you access corporate resources as well. You can then use additional challenges like multi-factor authentication, terms of use, access restrictions to decide whether to allow, deny, or control that access. So how it works, conditional access takes in, according to Microsoft, over 40 terabytes of identity-related security signals, including user behavior, location, state of device, applications being accessed, risk scores of the sign-in, and it uses machine learning to analyze those signals and determine the appropriate policy to apply for access to a resource, such as allowing, limiting, or blocking access at additional verification measures. For example, you might have a policy that requires MFA if the user attempts to access from a new location. When the user enters their credentials, an MFA challenge, such as a push notification from the Microsoft Authenticator app, prompts them to prove their identity before they're granted access. These capabilities also extend to Azure. You can set conditional access policies to define conditions under which users can access cloud resources. Within Azure, you can also get access to MFA, customer lockbox, and role-based access control. In today's complex modern work environment, conditional access literally provides the protection without compromising any of your users' productivity. The next tool you can use, enforcing least privilege access. So access is easy to grant, but much harder to track. You need the ability to trace who has access to which resources and quickly revoke that access when the user no longer needs it. You should be able to apply these controls to both internal and external users. Azure AD identity governance. Into Azure AD protect, monitor, and audit access to critical assets. Specifically, it will help with these scenarios. Automate the full user lifecycle for onboarding and offboarding, connected to an HR platform such as Workday or SAP SuccessFactors to automatically provision and deprovision access for users, enabling new hires to get started right away and ensuring access is revoked when employees leave the company. You can manage role-based access controls as well. So Azure AD helps you reduce the risk by using least privileged access principles for admin roles. So you implement and automate that role-based access control to ensure people only have the admin access that they need. Azure AD also provides a variety of task-level roles to segregate duties across users, which can be managed in PIM. So that's Privileged Identity Management in Azure AD Premium Plan 2 as well. So simplify the access lifecycle with access reviews and certifications, also part of Premium P2, and manage identity and access lifecycles at scale by automating those access requests, workflows, access assignments and reviews, and exploration and entitlement management for your users with that access. Review users' access rights regularly with access reviews to make sure that only the right people continue to have the right access. At its core, identity governance ensures that the right people have the right access to the right resources, then revokes that access when they no longer require it. The join, move, leave process to manage user identities is critical for greater security and to keep employees and new hires productive. As I mentioned, automating that lifecycle based on HR events that write back the relevant user data to those HR data stores. You can automate access to applications and data as well by provisioning and deprovisioning user accounts in your SaaS apps. So Azure Active Directory provides a full featured platform with capabilities for you to secure access to this new world that we live in. It can help you with these 4 key areas, being that adaptive access control, making the experience for your users seamless and simplified, a central place to manage your identities, and also the ability to do your identity governance. Secure adaptive access is about protecting access to resources and data using strong authentication and risk-based adaptive access policies. No, that was a mouthful. So they're risk-based adaptive access policies without compromising the user experience. So is your end user authentication seamless and secure? How do you control, how much control do you have over people's access? How do you secure identities against current and emerging threats? With Microsoft, their approach in identity and access management is really threefold. So a secure authentication that is convenient for everybody, conditional access policies to reach those zero trust levels of access and protection, and also identity protection, which is also part of Premium Plan 2, to safeguard those identities when they're used as part of a OS session or application session. The first question to ask yourself is, can I make my access protection stronger while also making things easier for users? This is about how people sign in, how often they have to sign in, and how we authenticate that they are who they say they are. The second question is, how much control do you really have over that access? Not only who is accessing what, but also can those access control policies change depending on the conditions? And lastly, we ask, how do you protect your user credentials? This is really about, where we do sometimes rely on username and password, keeping those credentials protected once they're used, so that when they're stored as part of an operating system session, for example, that they can't be hijacked by an attacker and then used to access other things that are the genuine legitimate user is not trying to access. Passwords, we all know, are the weakest link in the security chain and a single point of failure without any additional verification. That's why, we believe strongly that if you do only one thing to help protect yourself, it should be to turn on MFA, because it can prevent 99.9% of identity attacks. It's so important. There are a range of authentication options to fit those needs, if there are any in your business and your users, but MFA is absolutely critical to limit your threat exposure. Identity protection. So based on Microsoft's research, and as I mentioned, there was a 300% increase in identity attacks in the past year. While conditional access protects your resources from suspicious authentication requests, identity protection goes further by providing ongoing risk detection and remediation for suspicious user accounts. So it keeps you informed 24/7 of suspicious user and sign-in behavior in your environment. It automatically responds, proactively prevents compromised identities from being used. So real-time continuous detection is monitoring your security alerts that affect your identities with continuous real-time and aggregated sign-in risk and user risk. You then receive alerts when a user's risk reaches a specific threshold. There's automatic remediation, so you can set policies to automatically block sign-ins above a certain risk threshold, so high or medium, for example. You can review alerts and automate responses for common scenarios. You can also investigate risky users and sign-ins to address potential vulnerabilities. Go a step further if you see a suspicious incident and correlate alerts with other Microsoft solutions, which we'll discuss next for more in-depth investigation and response. So on your seamless user experiences, this is about providing an easy, fast sign-in experience to keep your users productive and reduce the time and management of passwords effectively. So is your end user authentication seamless and secure? Some of the questions you can ask yourselves. How much control do you have over that access again? How do you secure those identities against those threats? So the approach in identity and access management for seamless user experience is, again, threefold. So that secure authentication that is focused on those end users, conditional access, as I mentioned, and again, identity protection to safeguard those identities. Azure AD single sign-on or SSO eliminates the multiple account password weak security issue. With SSO, only one identity and one sign-in is needed to connect to all of the user's applications. On average, employees are saving 10 minutes per week when using single sign-on for application access. That's like getting a whole day back at the end of the year just from managing access. Modern companies are using an average of 100 different applications, so it's important to use an identity provider that can help you with the breadth of application access. While Azure AD is built by Microsoft, it's not identity just for Microsoft. You can connect users seamlessly to over 3,000 apps that are integrated, that are non-Microsoft SaaS applications, and it's part of your Azure AD license, so it's included in that. And you can connect your on-premise apps and custom apps to single sign-on as well. There's a ton of apps in the marketplace. If you've got some time, you can have a nose. But yeah, they've made it really easy to connect your applications to one place to give that simple access for your users. So providing a means for secure access is fundamental as we know it to user productivity, but you should also grant them additional identity experiences that are highly adaptable and empower users to manage their own identities as well, where possible, and take some of the less critical work away from your IT support team so they can focus on more important things. To aid users with this seamless single sign-on experience, Azure AD My Apps delivers a web-based app launching portal where employees can quickly find and access the business applications and make them more discoverable. Users can also personalize the experience by organizing their apps into collections. And in the My Account portal, is the one-stop shop for users to manage their own identities as well, like self-service password reset or SSPR, which helps reduce help desk calls by empowering users to change or reset their passwords without any involvement from an admin or an IT help desk. And they can do so from any web portal on any device. If they get locked out or can't remember their password, simple prompts will help them set up a new secure password. Apart from passwords, other essential security contact information like a user's phone number can be updated in the My Account page. Users can update their phone number immediately without the help of IT, ensuring security prompts are both correctly contacting the user at their desired device. While Azure AD provides users with all this self-service functionality, it doesn't necessarily mean that users will take advantage of it or have the time to. So there's a converged registration experience, which fills in some of the gaps by auto-enrolling users' contact info into SSPR using the same security contact information they've provided for MFA. This helps increase the adoption of essential security features and reduces efforts on the employees themselves. As phishing tactics continue to increase, IT can also use all the help they can get monitoring suspicious activity. The My Sign-ins page that users can access within their Azure AD account allows them to self-monitor their sign-ins as well. This means that when a user accesses this page and sees that a sign-in was logged in a location that they haven't actually been to, they can alert IT immediately. This is far easier than IT trying to track what is a normal sign-in and what isn't for each individual user, particularly considering the increase in remote work, meaning more scattered sign-ins to monitor. So yes, under unified identity management, this is all about managing all of your identities and access to all your applications in a central location, whether they are in the cloud or on-prem, to improve your visibility and control. You can only secure what you know and what you have visibility into. So Azure AD provides a single identity system for your cloud and on-prem apps to simplify management, tighten net control, and close those critical security gaps. Using easy sync tools to connect AD on-prem apps and cloud HR apps, as I mentioned before. So you can provide a common identity for all of your users and manage your hybrid identities from the cloud for much greater security and control. And as I mentioned, sync your HR systems data into one central place. Connect any app into the cloud or data center by managing your users and their access to any app in any cloud or data center across your hybrid environment from a single cloud portal. You can also manage legacy on-prem apps with Azure AD application proxy or with a hybrid access partnership alongside your cloud apps and your custom-built apps. Overall, you can improve your control and visibility while still simplifying the user's experience. Efficiently managing your external identities, so like your customers and partners, with external identities in Azure AD in the cloud to deliver flexible, secure access to applications and services like SharePoint Online and Office 365 applications, in addition to other apps like ServiceNow or Adobe, et cetera. So enabling users to bring their own identity for frictionless authentication also provides that ability to do that unified identity management across multiple environments, multiple people, multiple applications. So Azure AD simplifies the way you manage and secure applications by providing an identity system for them. A critical step towards starting a zero trust journey is, again, consolidating all of that access, consolidating that secure access, to all the applications, whether they are on-prem or in the cloud. External identities is a set of capabilities that let you share your resources or applications with users outside of your organization. There are two main reasons you might need to connect with external users. So if you're collaborating with external companies and they need guest access or guest users that you can assign permissions to while letting them use their own existing credentials. They've also added a self-service sign-up that you can offer to your external users, along with other features that were previously only available in Azure AD B2C. So you can scale your apps to consumers, customers, with Azure AD. And if you're creating customer-facing apps, you can use Azure AD as your directory and identity system for those consumers who can sign in with an identity they've already established. You can customize and control the user experience for sign up and sign in, as well as the profile management. The same billing model now applies to all Azure AD external identity capabilities. Pricing is based on the monthly active users, which is the count of unique users with authentication activity within a calendar month. The monthly active users billing model applies to both Azure AD guest user collaboration and Azure AD B2C tenants. So managing access for external users separately across multiple directories can leave critical gaps in security. And these identities, managing these identities from Azure AD improves that visibility into those users and extends the adaptive access policies for that level of control that you need to have. Also, users can then bring their own identity provider, not just Microsoft. So you can invite partners to collaborate and automate how you manage their access. Facilitate collaboration with any user you need to invite to a group or interact within an application with secure sharing in Teams, as well as SharePoint. So it includes a robust set of capabilities to manage that customer or consumer access to your apps. You can personalize those journeys with built-in user flow templates, customize policies, capture login, preference, and conversion data for customers, provide branded like white label registration and login experiences. So there's a lot of really cool features you can do with the external identities capabilities now. For your simplified identity and governance, this is about controlling access to apps and data for all users and admins efficiently with automated identity governance to ensure only authorized users have access. So, like I said, access is easy to grant, but much harder to keep track of. You need to track who has given access to what resources and revoke access when it's no longer needed. So identity governance is a native part of Azure AD that allows you to do this, to protect, monitor, and audit access to your assets. Specifically, it will help you with these scenarios to ensure that only authorized users have access based on your policies, provide employees and guest users with workflows to request that access, establish those access reviews to validate if access is still needed, and establish effective controls with time-limited access for your privileged role assignments. The join, move, leave process for managing user identities is critical, as I mentioned, and with new hires and employees, you need to be on top of that security. So you can automate the identity lifecycle based on those events if you're connected into an HR system, for example. But this is just important to know that the capabilities are there to do that lifecycle management for your joiner, mover, leaver process. So Azure Identity and Access Lifecycle Management is a cloud native service, also part of Azure AD, that helps you increase and strengthen your overall security and compliance posture as you manage your digital identities and access. So Identity and Access Lifecycle Service can help you quickly automate and pre-configure workflows and task templates, and those allow you to respond to scenarios without writing any new code, for example. So it also allows you to securely provision access to sensitive data at scale by delegating the responsibility of providing and managing access to the business managers. You can easily prove to auditors that your organization has the appropriate controls in place by having a centralized view of user access from a single control plane. And what that does is bring us full circle from building a zero trust based identity strategy to managing the life cycle of those identities with Azure AD. So effectively, that's pretty much zero trust foundations and identity and access management where Microsoft is concerned with Azure AD. Now, there are a number of ways that we can take this further. So if you wanted more information or demos, for example, because I don't have time to go through demos of these different features, you can obviously reach out to us. There is a identity focused workshop that will not just show you about the Microsoft tools, but the other vendors that are out there. If you qualify, there's some great security workshops that can guide you in terms of your zero trust network access strategy, as well as adopting some of these Microsoft features and actually getting them rolled out. There's fast track to do that. Another shameless plug very quickly for our professional services team. They are there to help you if you need any support with any of these elements or getting these elements up and running. And I've referenced Azure AD Premium Plan 2 a few times. So if you're not sure about your licensing or what kind of licenses you have or what is included in that licensing, we have a number of licensing specialists in-house that can absolutely help figure all of that out. So please reach out to us if any of that is an interest. I will get to any of the Q&As in the chat, but you can also reach out to us in the different chat rooms across the event. And hopefully I will talk to you all very, very soon. Thanks a lot for your time, everybody. Appreciate it. And I hope you have a good day further.